we have got the stability of. That's the thing, we go into the Championship with momentum. A good League One season, a record-breaking League One season, a nucleus of a stable squad that will be added to, and we understand our playing style. So we are not. It's not a standing start for us, is it? So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. Now, we're at the point in the season where the fixtures have just been released, and we're all excited about playing all the teams that we missed last season because we weren't in the Championship. 3 of those clubs are the relegated clubs, and first up we have Ipswich Town, one of the favourites who got relegated from the Premier League to go back up. And we also have Leicester away within the first 4 or 5 games as well. In this podcast, myself and Matt are going to look at the 3 relegated clubs and have a little discussion really on how we think we'll manage or cope against those 3 teams, because traditionally the relegated clubs have come down very, very strong and done very well in most cases, with the exception, of course, of Luton Town last season, who got relegated. So there are slight exceptions. But so really, Matt, just as a general first question, so do you think that any of the 3 in particular relegated clubs, or all of them, are going to be strong next season?
I think for me, and again, we've done a lot of videos over the summer, Dad, and this podcast is always a bit of fun. But it's always hard to predict certain elements to the season before the transfer market opens, before players come in and go out. However, there is one team in particular who I think are going to be a particular force, and sadly, and annoyingly, it's our first game of the season. I do think Ipswich will be a particularly strong one this season. I think all 3 of them are going to be strong. They're definitely all 3 of them are going to be top 6, I would say, in my opinion. Obviously, Leicester have points deduction looming over them, or some kind of penalty from the EFL, which potentially, which we're unsure about. It could be nothing. But they do have that looming over them. And as you say, I hope we get off to a good start, Dad, because we have Ipswich first game and Leicester 4th game. So it'd be nice if we can make a good start against them. But there's no doubt about it. They're all going to be strong. We have said it on previous podcasts, and I still think it's worth stating. They do have parachute payments coming down. Yeah. But we have to play every team over the course of the season twice. Let's worry about ourselves as Birmingham City. We're going to have a really good transfer market, summer market this season, I think. I think we're going to be ready by the time that first game comes. And I have no doubt we're in for a tough season. These teams will be tough, but Birmingham City will be competitive this season.
Yeah, I agree. But we always know, Matt, going back to previous seasons, that the relegated teams in any division, actually, but particularly the Premier League, come down with a strong advantage. When you mentioned the parachute payments, and we have to talk about them. I think something like for the first season, it's like 40 million. It's something ridiculous. It's a lot of money, isn't it? They have the possibility. I mean, it swings and roundabouts, actually, because we know this from when we got relegated in 2013, was it, or 2011?
Wasn't it? Was the year we won? No, it would have been 2012.
Yes, it would have been. Yeah, it was. Yeah. So we know that this, even though you get your parachute payments, you've also got the dilemma of potential players on high wages and on contracts that if you haven't got a relegation clause in there, you've still got to pay them no salary in the Championship. Mm-hmm. So that's the one of the dilemmas for some of the relegated clubs. But the parachute payments is the key. Now, Tom Wagner has made it very open that he said that when we get promoted from League One, which we've done now, we would be on par with the teams that get parachute payments. So from a financial perspective, our revenue is now up there with the highest in the Championship. A lot of people, when you say that, don't believe us. Mm-hmm. They say, how have you done that? How can you possibly come from League One and have the same financial in the same financial bracket as some of these teams?
It's
that have
because they don't pay attention to the football club, Dad. Look at the sponsorships that Wagner brings in, Delta. Tom Wagner. I'm going to call him Wagner. It's just easier for my memory. He's brought in loads of sponsorships. The kits have been great last season. The merchandise is great. The football match day experience is great. We've sold more season tickets than ever. So, it's not just a case of looking at the play and the players we've sold. We sold Jordan James, Bakunas, Dembele. We made a lot of money by selling players. People seem to forget about that element to last season, which is really strange. And obviously, we got clauses for Jude and Job. From them moving on in their careers when they were sold as well. So actually, we've generated our own revenue fair and square from selling our decent players, I would say. But bigger than that is the amount that Tom Wagner has done for the club in terms of sponsorships, getting good merchandise, increasing the matchday experience. All these things now has put us... I mean, even the year we got relegated, we were the 4th highest revenue club, and that was just including the 3 parachute payment clubs, which is insane.
Yeah, it is crazy, isn't it? Did you see as well that thing that they put out on X, the Blues ticketing, that season tickets have been that popular that then there's no season tickets going on general sale.
Yeah.
Because we've got people on the waiting list that will be the priority, and as they should be, because they're on a waiting list. But so season tickets are not going to go on general sale. Whenever you ever remembered that happening at Blues, I can't. I've tried to think. I can't think of it ever happening.
The only year it would have got close was the first year we were in the Premier League. Remember in 01-02, and even that I don't think was as popular as it is now.
I know. I think people. But again, but we know as well that season tickets are only part of revenue. I don't want to get stuck into a revenue conversation. It's more.
But
about
it's important though because we're competing with the parachute payments.
Exactly, and I think that's going to enable us, give us a bit of financial muscle in the transfer market, which will put us, in a position where we can challenge for the same types of players as these teams that have come down. So firstly, the parachute payments is a factor, but then if you're looking comparing us to those three, there doesn't seem to be, that's not going to be a massive impact on us. And also as well, you would argue that even though they got relegated, the three Premier League teams, previous Premier League teams now, have come down with strong squads because they've got Premier League players. Now, you would argue Southampton have had a really poor season, second worst team in Premier League history in terms of points. Leicester had a terrible, terrible season. Ipswich didn't have the season they wanted either. People were expecting them to do much better. But now they've played that season in the Premier League. They've got these players that have the Premier League experience. Now they're coming down to the Championship. So they're all basically, what I'm getting at is they've already got strong squads. Some players will go, we know that, but they will bring players in as well. How do you think then, my question, Matt, is based upon the fact that of their squads compared to our squad as it is now and when we've strengthened, what's the difference there between us and them?
Again, I'm not dodging the question, or I'm not giving an answer, but again, it's very difficult to answer that until the transfer market opens because we are going to bring people in. If we're just talking right now, I think we're a little bit behind them. As you said, they're bringing Premier League experience down. They have got quality players in all those teams. But we will recruit to that level, in my opinion. Some of the players and the names we've been linked with this summer are crazy. I'm not going to name them now because they may or may not happen. But everyone knows, if Blues fans are on X or any of the social medias, everyone knows the names that are being bandied around at this club. And they are big, stars that are going to transform this football club. So right now we have I think, a bit of catching up to do to get competitive with these teams. But I think by the time that first game comes across, maybe putting my neck on the line because we're playing Ipswich first game of the season, I think we'll have a competitive squad. Again, I think you're always chasing. I think this is why the parachute payments are unfair, and I'm not scapegoating here and saying that if we don't get automatic promotion or we don't have a good season, it's because of the parachute payments. I don't believe that to that level, but it is a difficult level playing field, isn't it now, with the teams with the money that comes down. However, I still think we're going to be very close to them when the season starts. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely crucial in terms of what we do in the summer transfer market, as you said. But I would pit our team now without any real additions as a competitive Championship team.
I'll say mid-table team right now.
But that's going to be added to. We know that as well. But you would say that the other thing that the relegated clubs, the issue they've got is that they will be players that they'll want to move on as well. Now, some of the teams, players will have left or want to leave, or they'll have clauses if they get relegated. I hate those clauses.
Well, Delap's already left Ipswich, hasn't he? They sold him for big money.
He's gone to Chelsea.
Yeah, of course he has.
Yeah, well,
everyone goes to Chelsea.
Who don't go to Chelsea? And so the squad, in terms of the squad depth, it's only going to be determined after the transfer window closes, really, isn't it? And I think I don't think there's going to be much of a gap between us and.
Yeah, agreed. That's what I mean. I think by the time that first ball gets kicked on the first game of the season, we won't be far off.
Yes, so by the time the season starts, we'll be competitive, I think, with the teams that did get relegated from the Prem. But there are other factors you need to think about as well. So, for example, the managers. So we know that Ipswich have still got the same manager, and he's been under speculation, but he's stayed there.
Kieran McKenna.
So he's going to give them that stability. But the other two clubs, I mean, you've got. Southampton have now got a new manager in Will Still, which I think he'll be a good manager over time. He's got to mould his own style into that club, but he by all accounts, he's quite a thinker, tactical manager. And I'll be very surprised if Ruud van Nistelrooy is still in place at the start of the season. Sean Dyche and a few other names have been mooted about going there. So we have got the stability of. That's the thing, we go into the Championship with momentum, a good League One season, a record-breaking League One season, a nucleus of a stable squad that will be added to, and we understand our playing style, so we are not. It's not a standing start for us, is it?
Yes.
I think there's also for the relegated clubs, there's a psychological thing about being relegated. Like look at Luton. they never recovered from it. It's almost like a boxer getting knocked out, and then, well, not knocked out, but getting punched and knocked down, and you've got to get up and you've got to get your bearings again. And Luton never did that, and so there's always this stigma about being the relegated. A lot we did when we went down to League One. Everybody wanted to beat us. Everybody, hardly of them did, but they do you know what I'm saying? So everybody's going to want to beat Ipswich and Leicester and Southampton.
Yeah, but I do agree with that, Dad. It doesn't always work out if you look at Luton. But if you do look at like the last 10 years as an example, you can look at Burnley, Sheffield United. I know Sheffield United didn't go up last season. There's certain teams who just have a knack of not quite making it step up to Premier League, but then they come down and do very, very well in the Championship. Yeah. Leicester's now one of them, Burnley, Sheffield United. There's a couple more. I mean, a couple of years ago, Norwich was one of them, West Brom were arguably one of them. Those kind of yo-yo clubs that are in the mix. But once you lose that momentum, like West Brom now, or one of those teams that kind of filter Norwich as well, it's hard to get it back up, isn't it? They're not struggling teams by any stretch. They'll be competitive this season. They'll be in and around the playoffs for sure. But when you tail off, sometimes it can be quite difficult to get that momentum back.
But do you think the gap is? We know that the gap is big now between the Premier League and the Championship. Do you think it's getting bigger?
Huge.
Yeah.
And I think FFP, PSR, and I'm not saying that teams like Chelsea and Man United should be able to spend whatever they want, but I think it's unfair when teams are trying to break a new threshold that they're limited by some of these rules, as an example. And for me, the most biggest unfair thing about it all is probably that it's not just the parachute payments. It is that, but it doesn't trickle down far enough.
Yeah.
So it only helps the direct teams which have been relegated from the Premier League. Where's the help for League One, League Two, and below the pyramid?
Yeah.
I know we're entering a different conversation, but my point in saying that is I think the gap's getting bigger because the money doesn't get dispersed around the pyramid as easy as it should.
I think this season, Matt, there's an opportunity because there's only 4 teams in the Championship this coming season that have parachute payments. That's the lowest for many years. So we've only got the 3 relegated clubs and Sheffield United. We know that Luton got relegated. They'll have parachute payments in League One, which is staggering to think about, really, isn't it? Yeah. And we know that both Burnley and who else went up? There's Burnley. Leeds went up, but they didn't have parachute.
Sunderland.
Sunderland didn't either. Yeah. Leeds wouldn't have had parachute payments, would they? But basically,
they would have. They were Premier League 4 years ago.
Okay, so they might have been there last year. Parachute
exactly.
payments. Okay, so there's only 4 teams in there. So, but obviously they will come down with that advantage. Sheffield United will have the advantage because they'll still be in their second year of parachute payments as well. There's also the dilemma for the relegated clubs, a little bit like us really, because we've come up a division. These 3 teams have come down a division, but the style of football is different in the Premier League to the Championship. We know the style of football is completely different in League One. So all 4 of us and the 3 relegated teams, have to adapt to that Championship style, and it might take us a few games to all teams really a few games just to get back into it. But I'm sure Chris Davis will have our players drilled.
And I think that's arguably one of the biggest advantages of playing Ipswich so early, because the first games of the season tend to throw up a few surprises, don't they? So you can tend to catch teams off guard. They're still adapting to the new systems, new leagues, new transfers, whoever's came in and stuff. So I actually don't think it's arguably bad time to play Ipswich first game of the season, but I do agree, Dad. But I think our style of football lends itself to the Championship. I think what Chris Davies set up last season, with our style of football, with the way we played, I think we'll be a much better Championship team than we will be League One team, because we're not going to be facing the low block every single week. Yeah,
I think the teams will always do their homework on the opposition, but I think a lot of Championship teams are going to be surprised because every time they've played us before, we haven't played the style of football we were playing last season.
Back foot football.
Yeah, but they will know because they'll do that. They'll have their videos and they'll have their research on us as well. Just a quick note on each of the 3 teams, really, just so we can, in no particular order. We'll start off with Leicester. As you mentioned, Matt, in the intro or early on in the podcast, they potentially could be subject to. They are being charged, haven't they? So they could be subject to things like points deductions. We don't know. That's going to be on their minds. I remember. Do you remember the season that we were charged, and the EFL took so long, and eventually they deducted us 9 points.
Yeah, I remember.
But all through the season, it's something that's always in your mind, and you're thinking, well, how many points have we got if we take? And so Leicester, unless the EFL make a decision quickly, they won't know what their sort of penalty is going to be.
And they can drag their feet, can't they?
If they get a penalty at all, because we know, and we've seen from other clubs, they find loopholes and ways round these type of things. But they'll come down with that as a big disadvantage. Be a big cloud with it for them over their potential season, unless it gets. In a way, I wish they'd just charge you and just make a decision immediately, and then you know where you are, you can get on with it. But they don't. And that's partly the club's fault because clubs appeal. and rightly so, because you're entitled to defend your case if you think you've got one.
Yeah.
I think the depth of the squad is very good. So a lot of players. They've been Leicester are they were champions not so many years ago, Premier League champions.
2014, 2015 season, I think it was.
Yeah, was it 2016? Something like
maybe,
that.
yeah, 2015,
It was
2016.
round about then, so that's less than 10 years ago. And they've had a strong squad ever since then, really. So even now they've got Premier League experienced players in it. Fass, Wilfred Ndidi, Harry Winks, Patson Daka. Steffi Mavididi. They're also vulnerable to go, but we know that Jamie Vardy has now moved on. So they're going to have, I believe, James Justin as well. They're going to have like teams, I believe, that we're targeting. Some of their players because their team. It's almost like the vultures come round the relegated club
Because they know you're vulnerable.
Yeah, because you've come down to a lower league, so they know that players will want to go into a high league.
That's what I mean by vulnerable. Is that players are going to want to leave you?
Yeah, so they are vulnerable to losing players. I think they will lose some of them. I know there's been a lot of interest in Stefan Mavididi. I think from abroad actually.
Italian clubs.
Yeah,
I've heard.
And I really rate him as well. So I think he could be vulnerable. And also, as I mentioned, they've got the issue of the manager situation. At the time of recording, Ruud van Nistelrooy is still a manager, but I honestly can't see that being the case at the start. I might be wrong, but I think they'll change manager as well. So we'll have to see what happens as well.
Yeah.
I quite like Leicester. We went there, didn't we, season before last? It was in the FA Cup, not the league. And I like the ground. It's good atmosphere, but they, I believe, are in for a tougher season than when they were last in the Championship. Having said that, though, I still think they're very strong.
Yes, agreed.
They're very strong.
No,
so
they will be.
So they'll be up there as well. Ipswich next, as you mentioned, Matt. Would you tell me about Ipswich? I mean, you said that Ipswich are a strong. You think they'll be strong. Why? Why will they be strong?
I just think because although they got promoted from League One into the Championship, momentum from Championship into the Premier League, and also I know they've just been relegated, but I think there's something about Ipswich's style of play, which again, similar to Blues, it really suits the Championship.
Yeah.
And again, they've got those attacking-minded fullbacks. They get up the pitch, they go up in numbers. And I remember watching Ipswich the year we got relegated and the year that they went up, typical. I just remember watching them thinking, this is how I want Blues to play.
Yeah, I thought exactly the same.
With their attacking fullbacks, with the way everyone swarmed, and we have got quite a similar, I would say, game strategy to Ipswich now, actually. With what Chris Davies has done, he's put us a lot closer aligned to Ipswich than what we were used to with the whole back foot kind of football. So I actually think we're getting there. And finally, Dad, they have a good manager in Kieran McKenna.
Yeah, I sort of agree and disagree with you in a way in relation to the style of play. I think we're much better and closer to the way Ipswich played. But I saw this in when we went to Ipswich when they beat us 3-1 last season. I saw it firsthand. They literally were full on all the time. So even when we equalised, they scored first. We equalised. I think it was Stansfield who equalised.
Jordan James.
Oh, sorry, Jordan James. Yeah, it was Jordan James. Yeah, and but when they equalise as well, they just keep coming at you.
Yeah.
And when they go in the lead, they keep coming at you.
Yeah.
That's something we don't do enough of. We have been, but that's.
But that will change this season, the Championship, because again, League One, it was the parking the bus element to it, in my opinion. And I do agree, Dad. I think Ipswich are relentless. They were a very difficult team to play against, and even at home under Rooney's tenure, we went 2-0 up and we drew 2-2, didn't they? So again, they just didn't know when they were beat. Really good attributes to have.
Marcus Harness, who's now gone to Huddersfield now? He got the 2 goals against us in that particular game, and we were 2-0 up and basically blew it, didn't we? Which we blew everything that season, didn't we? Really? But I do like Ipswich. I like their style of play, and I think when we played them in the first game of the season, that has the makings of a real fantastic game.
You watch it be 0-0.
And some players they've got as well. I mean, just to drop a few names. I mean, Amari Hutchinson, and I think some of these players didn't have great seasons. Leif Davis as well. He was fantastic in the Championship. 14 assists, I think he had.
He's a left back, isn't he?
Yeah,
or right back. He's one of them.
No, he's left back.
He's a great
he's a left back, but he's a flying.
He's like Laird, isn't he?
Yeah,
stays high up.
Yeah, but he's good as well. I say Amari Hutchinson, he was good as well. Obviously they literally just was all about sort of keeping the ball, moving it fast, and attacking, and that's what I really like about Ipswich. A lot of Ipswich fans have actually said, haven't they? When they were having a poor season, that they felt that the journey was better than the destination.
Yeah. I heard that a lot.
But in order to be a really good competitive Premier League team, maybe it might take another season in the Championship to build again for them to go back to be even stronger because they know the Premier League. But I think, in my mind, and I think they're the bookies' favourites to go back up. I would agree with that, but you never know how they're going to react when they come down. I think they're strong enough to. And also, Matt, they know the Championship.
Yeah, exactly.
They know the Championship, don't they? So
Ipswich will be fine. I've no doubt they'll definitely nab one of the automatics, in my opinion.
yeah, well, one thing that is worth noting as well. This is from my notes and their research. They reported a significant loss of 39.3 million in the year up to June 2024. So, and that's due to promotion costs and in investment. But and again, they've got rich owners, so they'll have cash injection from the rich owners. But they still have to toe the line like everybody else of FFP and PSR, whatever it's called nowadays. But I'm sure that they, with the sale of Liam Delap, I mean, they've already got the finances to be able to go out. I think they'll be strong in the.
It's a big loss, Liam Delap.
Yeah. I mean, they signed Sammy Smodics, didn't they, from Blackburn last year? I don't think he had a particularly good season, but we know he scored 30-odd goals for Blackburn in there. So he's already a Championship goal scorer. So
they got Jack Clark from Sunderland as well. Again, knows the Championship well. Good player.
He didn't do much in the Premier League.
He didn't do much in the Premier League, but that's the gamble of buying Championship players, isn't it? Some step up, some don't.
But now they're going back into the Championship. They've got these players that they know the Championship. So so I think Ipswich would do very well, and they'd be one of my favourites to get one or two automatics. And the final promoted team is Southampton, and again, can't go without saying that they had an absolutely torrid season.
They did, yeah.
We went down to League One, having been the worst or had the most losses over 10 years than any team in England.
No.
And we, through last season, learned how to win again. And we've got that winning mentality. Southampton are coming down with a losing mentality because they've won very few games. So they're going to have to in my opinion, get off to a fast start in order to try and change that mentality. Because if they don't, and it's a downward spiral. However, the one factor is their new manager.
Yeah, Will Still.
Yeah,
I agree. I think he will change them, change their football, change their style. Give them a new identity. I think because of Will Still, Southampton will be decent this season. Yeah,
they were good in the Championship when we were there, when they got promoted. They won it in the playoffs. They beat Leeds in the final, didn't they?
They kind of shocked everyone with that.
We had two good games against them. We had somebody scored a cracking goal at it might have been Jack Stansfield.
It was Stansfield.
Yeah, at Southampton. We lost it 3-1.
3-1. We lost 4-3 at St.Andrews in the last
goal.
minute.
Yeah, it was killer. Was it Smallbone who scored the winner?
Maybe. I know Shea Adams scored the third goal to equalise, or the second goal, but it was a killer.
Yeah, I think that a lot of what Southampton do is going to be determined by what they do in the transfer window. But you could say that for any team really. But how they start, I think for them it's crucial. Again, I'll go back to Luton. They had a really, really poor start to the season. They never recovered.
Yeah.
And I don't think Southampton are going to be anywhere near that, struggling or anything like that. But to really challenge, I think they need to get off to a good start, to be honest.
Southampton is one of those fixtures. Every year you play a team twice within a month or a couple of weeks. There's always one fixture where you play that team twice. Southampton's that for us this year. So we play them on the 6th of December and then the 29th of December. So we play Southampton twice in the month of December, which is quite interesting. So glad to get that one out of the way, if I'm honest. So we play them away on the 6th and we play them at home on the 29th.
I'm quite looking forward to it, if I'm honest. I've been to
I've
been to St. Mary's before. It's not the greatest of journeys for us. We can't complain because we're right in the middle of the country, but it's one of our more awkward journeys, let's say. But it's not London. It's just a nice place to go. I like St. Mary's. I like Southampton fans as well. They always seem quite, quite up for it and quite friendly as well. So that's another one to look forward to. But so overall, then, Matt, just to finish the podcast, then. So based upon our discussion, it seems to me that we're basically saying that we're going to be, fairly competitive with these teams.
3 teams, play them twice, 18 points.
That's the spirit. So, what do you think, Blues fans? How do you think we get on against these? Teams that got relegated. I know that at this point in the season, you'll be in the comments. You'll be saying, "Oh, let's wait and to see who we buy." I get that, but stick your neck on the line and put a comment below and let us know what you think at this point in time. We know that we're going to strengthen our squad, but we know that these teams are going to come down very strong. So it should make for 6 really, really good games. Anyway, add your comments. Let us know if you're a fan of Leicester, Southampton, or Ipswich. Welcome comments, or any team in the Championship. In fact, let us know your thoughts. We welcome comments from teams from fans from opposing teams. So put them as long as the comments are clean and respectful. then that's absolutely fine. As always, hope you've enjoyed the podcast. And if you did, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. If you haven't checked us out on our social media channels already, then pop along to our X page and our Instagram page. And if you like to watch or listen to your podcast on Spotify, you find us on there as well. And you see the handles appearing on the screen for all of these channels right now. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already and you'd like to, don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button. And if you press the bell icon next to the subscribe button, you'll get notifications every time we put a brand new podcast out. That's it for this one. Hope you've enjoyed it. Myself and Matt will see you on the next one, all about Birmingham City.